Good morning to all those on the East Coast. Especially good morning to all those on the West Coast. We're just about to get started here, because we got a lot to talk about today. A lot of interesting things that has happened. I don't know which stream you guys can see over here on TikTok, or if you can see the vertical or the desktop live, just let me know. And there we go. This time, I know the mic is on. If you don't know who I am, I'm Chris Muzo. I usually talk about PC and tech. Actually, I just released a video today about the RTX 50 series and AMD's RX 9070. It's about their stock supply and when could you really expect it. Turns out that the RTX 50 series, about them having that recall, about 90% of them, they claimed it was false, but now Nvidia seems to be kind of hard to trust with information, because they said that they shipped twice as many 40 series out than the actual RTX 50 series. If that's true, I think a lot of people would have a 50 series more in hand, don't you think? So it's just a bit insane that we're still in this. It's already middle of March and we're still having trouble getting hands. Oh, sure, I'll adjust it here. Let's see. How's that? Sounds good? Hopefully you guys can hear that okay. What's up, Thomas? Thank you for joining us. I hope you are enjoying the stream so far. And yeah, so Nvidia was supposed to release more RTX 5090s this week. I'm surprised they just didn't go with the flow and just said, hey, we did have this recall. At least it would make a lot more sense for them not having any 5080s, 5090s in stock. In fact, they're even having issues getting RTX 5070s, 5070 Ti's, and there's also going to be an imminent release of the RTX 5050, which I know sounds a bit ridiculous. RTX 5060 is going to be released, but the VRAM in the RTX 5060 may make you feel a bit cringe, especially that it's only 8 gigabytes of a G7. Good to hear that, Thomas. I'm glad that this worked out. Hopefully this new update with this chat will work soon. Let me see. Let me just make sure that you guys are connected here. And there we go. Perfect. That'll work. Now you guys should see each other in the chat here. Let me just activate all these sources here. And we should be good to go. Perfect. And let me just type in here. What's up, guys? It's good to see everyone. Especially the fan bam who is just tuning in. Hopefully you've seen the new video out there. There we go. Perfect. It looks like those are connected. Hopefully you guys saw that video out there, the one that I just posted today. Now the RTX 5060, can you imagine its capabilities, especially with 8 gigabytes of VRAM? It's just ridiculous, especially nowadays. If a game like GTA 6 gets released, do you really think that 8 gigabytes is going to be enough? You may not be able to use all the graphical settings, even if you set it to the minimal settings. If you really wanted to play a console game, you would get it on something like a Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5, even the PlayStation 5 Pro. But the insane part is just when it comes to the whole pricing aspect, especially when it comes to the RTX 50 series, because the RTX 5090, for example, the ASUS Astral, right? That's 3,500 USD. I can't imagine how much it's going to be in Europe, but that's 3,500 USD alone. And this is actually going to be way more than our build, because currently right now, if you don't know, or if you're just tuning into this channel, that what we do is PC building. We talk about PC hardware, and we love just tech. And with the build that I'm currently doing now, which I will show you, actually just got this graphics card in. If you haven't seen the live earlier this week, especially for those on TikTok, I'm glad that this is finally working on TikTok as well. But let me show you. So this just recently came in right here, which is the Sapphire Nitro Plus, and it is a RX 9070. I unboxed it on stream. If you're interested in seeing that stream, make sure you go to my YouTube channel. That is where all my streams are really saved at. On Twitch, it's not really saved on there, but all my history is saved onto YouTube. So if you're interested in seeing how it looks like, because it's quite a gorgeous GPU. And the funny thing is, when this came in, I was really nervous. Reason why I was so nervous when this GPU came in, the box looked like they literally ran it over with the UPS truck. It was just ridiculous how it came in. I really thought it was going to come in damaged. In fact, I got the box. I think I got the box over in the trash. But the funny thing is, if you look at this GPU box, it looks like nothing happened to it. It looks like everything's perfectly fine. And luckily, the GPU is okay. Haven't gotten to test it yet. It's something I definitely want to do for sure after we do this PC build. And if you're curious with what components that I'm building this PC with, I have some great parts here. I'll start off with the motherboard, as I got the Tough Gaming B850 here. Got that upside down. I got the Tough Gaming B850 here. Let me fix that right there. Perfect. And this is also a AM5 motherboard. This also features PCI Express 5. If you're curious, the best part about it, even compared to, say, the X870E, some people are afraid of losing power to the PCI Express 5 bus, because when you connect a NVMe, say if you do get a PCI Express 5 NVMe, it doesn't even have to. It could be PCI Express 4. If you connect it into one of the lanes that you may split the power to the PCI Express bus, the main one, the X16. With this one, with this specific motherboard, you don't have to worry about losing power to that lane. Instead, you'll lose power to the X4 lane, which is a lane that more than likely you're not going to use for full X4 speeds. So if you do connect a graphics card to it, it's going to be less affected. So these are the two parts so far. And if you're just coming in, it is the B850 Tough Gaming plus Wi-Fi motherboard here, and the RX 9070 XT, which will be definitely a lot of fun to put in. Now, cooler-wise, we got the ASUS LC 360 ARGB, probably a cooler you haven't heard of, and it's well underrated. In fact, it's such a great deal. You can actually get it for a about 150 USD. If you look on the back of it, right there, you can see that it even has a nice display, which is customizable to how you would like to set it. And it's pretty large. It's about 2.8 inches. And again, it's an awesome deal, especially if you're trying to make a, try to kind of not really cut corners, but trying to do a PC build where it's more affordable, at least. Now with the other parts here, we have the Ryzen 5 9600X. And we also have Corsair's DDR5 6000 MHz RAM. And Crucial's P3 Plus PCI Express 4 NVMe. Reason why we chose to go with that is because it's going to be a lot cheaper to build the PC with this part, with PCI Express 4, because as soon as you get PCI Express 5, especially in a place where it's not really as necessary, you're going to spend a lot more money for that price tag. And also in the back over here, I have the Monitech case. We got it for a great deal at Micro Center. It was only $74.99. Originally, we thought it was even cheaper at $64.99, but Micro Center showed us it was $74.99, and then compared to its original price, where it was $99.99. So, let alone this PC build is not that expensive at all. Now, if you notice, you're probably notice that there is something missing out of this PC build, and hopefully you guys can get it. Feel free to comment down below, because I love to hear from you guys, especially the fan bam. And AMD is better than Nvidia by price to performance. I agree, because AMD has certainly won the formula this year. And I've mentioned this earlier in my prior videos, because all AMD had to do was show the supply. They just had to have the supply, and they certainly did it. They had much more supply compared to Nvidia. Nvidia just had very little, but they've claimed that they shipped 2 times more than their RTX 40 series, which doesn't make any sense. But in a way, they're trying to compare it to the RTX 4090, which was the only card that they had at release for their flagship card before they released their 4080 a month later. Now, they compared those numbers because they're comparing the 5090 and 5080 together compared to just one 4090. But even then, they still did not have enough units out there for everyone to go purchase. They only had 276 in all the micro centers all across the US. So you tell me if that is enough GPUs, let alone in the US where it's well over 350 million. I can't imagine how many they released in Europe. I know AMD had a little bit of a harder time releasing in Europe because those who've mentioned it, but if you go to the physical store, more than likely, it's definitely a lot more easier to get one, because you actually had people that went to Micro Center to try to pick up a RX 9070 XT. You actually had lines of people waiting overnight. Even some that waited days to just try to get this RX 9070 XT. But the stock supply was so good, in fact, that once they opened up the store, many people who waited in line for that long realized that they could have went into the store an hour later and still picked up a GPU of their choice. AMD certainly won over supply. And the second part they won is pricing, which Fasu mentioned. Because with the pricing aspect of it, they know exactly that gamers don't want to spend over $700 USD when it comes to a graphics card. Maybe they can bend their budget a little bit when it comes to some of the AIBs. I know some of the AIBs can be priced pretty high to where they're priced up to 1,000 USD. Now, this GPU, if you're wondering, this GPU was just over 770, but with tax, it was like, I think 800. It was something like 800. And it's a very decent, it's actually Sapphire's top GPU that they offer, and it's still under 1,000 USD. So they certainly know that the market is trying to purchase more gaming GPUs. They know that there is a high demand for it this year. Especially, the reason is because a lot of people didn't really want to get a GPU in the last generation. A lot of people were skeptical about Nvidia's RTX 40 series. Not as many people went to get AMD's RX 7800 or 7900. You have most people out there that still have the 6600 or the 6700 from AMD, and you still have people out there that still have the 20 series or even the 30 series, which more than likely they're probably not going to try to get a GPU right away. And it's 100% fairly priced. And let's talk about these scalpers real quick. And for those who went to Micro Center knows this for sure. Just a couple of weeks ago on live stream, we went over to Micro Center, and there was two guys waiting on a Saturday. Now this is way past the launch date. This is only 2 weeks, again, 2 weeks ago, and they were waiting for the RTX 5090. As they were waiting for the RTX 5090, you have one guy that's next to them. He just got there at 8. Micro Center opens at 10 o'clock. I got there about 9:30. So I just was curious, so I asked them that question. That's how I know. And then as soon as they found out I got in line, get this, the two people overnight went over to their car to grab another person just to ensure that they can get their hands on a RTX 5090. But here's the kicker. As soon as the store opened, you immediately knew where they were going to head to. That's awesome. 1060 is still great. It's still a great card. And now Nvidia has to bring that back. They got to bring back gaming just like the 1000 series. The RTX 1000 series was great. The 1080 Ti is what I had. Excellent card. And it's definitely still formidable till this day. But I'll get into the developers in a little bit. But just to let you guys know about what happened at Micro Center is once we got over to the GPU side at the desk, guess what happened? There was none. They had no RTX 50 series. In fact, they didn't even have RTX 4090s. They didn't have 4080s. They had 4060s, very little of them. They had 3060s. They didn't even have 3070s, 3080s. They only had AMD 6600s, and they had Intel's Battle Mage. They had those cards, but that was it. And you know what they did? They immediately walked out. That's how you know that they're scalpers. And the funny thing is, the manager at that Micro Center knows the people that come in there just to purchase it to sell on eBay. In fact, one of the people went into that Micro Center, purchased a MSI RTX 5090, and they had the audacity to take a photo of it in the store and put it on eBay. Tell me how crazy that is. And unfortunately, this is what we're dealing with today. In fact, if you go onto eBay and you take a look at all the cards that are listed, they're still going up for ridiculous amounts. They're not going up. They're not selling out as high as they used to. They're selling. What's up, Dorzel? Welcome to the chat. The only thing Social Ninja needs to get working is TikTok back onto the chat as well. Exactly. Scalpers know if they limit the supply, they can make double the money. And that's exactly what they do. They literally wait. So you're competing against people, especially those who are trying to get a RTX 50 series. You're limiting people trying to get this card because they're waiting each day to try to get this card. And most of them are probably going to wait overnight because that's just the type of people that they are. They choose to take away the demand, so that way they can have the demand, so that way they can sell it to people out there. Now, if you're thinking about getting the 50 series, just don't buy it off of eBay at least. I gotta say that. Don't buy it off of eBay. I'm not gonna try to get you to switch over to AMD because you have your personal preference. If you choose to go AMD, that's great. Because, I mean, just the design in this card is just quite amazing when this got unboxed. And it's just quite insane on how this market really is. In fact, now when it comes to the whole gaming industry, you can see the type of requirements that they are requiring in order for you to enjoy the games that you would like to. Now, you have to agree, trying to get a 9070 XT, no dice so far. Good luck, Cheeky. Oh, you know what's funny too? I got to bring this up because what do you think about these retailers that they're going to try to charge more money to try to get for the RX 9070 XT? And there's this one site, I forget what site it was exactly. This was a European site where they marked it up to 1300. That's how much it was retailing for, right? So they put an X on it saying, no, we're not going to charge that much for it. Instead, we're going to charge 1,000 for it. But in reality, this card was already worth 800, but they made it seem like it was cheaper. So price gouging isn't only happening by scalpers, but retailers see their opportunity. Not all of them are like that, but you have certain ones. Like, I'm sure some of you who've been trying to get the 50 series seen the ridiculous bundles that Newegg has. Just ridiculous. 5,000-6,000 USD just to purchase a GPU. And what do they offer? They offer some pretty good stuff. They offer a monitor. They offer a motherboard. They offer the ROG router where it's 700 USD, where you more than likely don't have plans purchasing, but it's bundled in there, so that way you can go purchase it. The only kind of guaranteed way to get a high-end new GPU at a fair price is to buy them as soon as they stock up. That is true. As mentioned, you have people that will wait outside of Micro Center every single night. And most of the people that do that, the ones that do wait every single night and look familiar, you obviously know that they're not there for good intentions. They're definitely not there to build another rig. They're there to put it on eBay. That's what they're there for. But when Defense Tech says 3 days of camping minimum has guaranteed me the #1 spot line for the 3090, 4090, and 5090. That's awesome. You were able to get it, but not everybody can spend 3 days to wait outside of Micro Center. Now, I feel bad for those, especially in the Northeast region of the US, because during the release, I know it had to be freezing, especially waiting outside a Micro Center in order to try to purchase it. I'm sure you have hand warmers and you can keep warm, but it's just unnecessary. Micro Centers should really change up the way of doing things when it comes to purchasing a graphics card. Instead, they should do more of a raffle, which would be more fair. That way, not everyone has to get up and wait 3 days if they don't have to. But, oh yeah, I kind of figured, if you were in the Tesla, and luckily you had nice people that were at your Micro Center, but some Micro Centers, you do have some people that will fight you to the death just to get this GPU because they're trying to make a living off of it. But that is a good point. But 3 days of camping, I would lose 1,000 in lost revenue at work. Yeah, and that's and that's the thing. Now you have a lot of people out there that are going to just, that's all they do is scalp. That's how they make their living. Whether it's even in the Pokemon card industry, of course it's in the sneaker industry. That's been that way forever. And it's always been just insane when it comes to the scalping market. Anything that is new, that is fresh, and they know it's going to be popular. I guarantee you, wait till the Switch 2, because when the Switch 2 does drop, you can certainly expect it to just be scalped immediately. And you're going to have people wait 3 days also for the Switch 2 as well. That's supposed to be released sometime, I think, in June. But they're actually supposed to have their showcase in April. But I know you guys are not here for the Nintendo conference for sure. But the point is, scalpers will be at the press conference just to get an idea of when the release is. They're going to watch the press conference, not actually physically be there. But first come, first serve. I hate lottery. I can understand that. I know you hate lottery. But if you have, I could understand getting there early. Maybe you have more pickings. Maybe they can do it that way. If you get there early, you have, say, 5 raffles. And then the people that get there later, they can get maybe just 1. Like super later. If the store just opened type of later. And they should have a cutoff limit when it comes to timing. Maybe the cutoff time is, say, 10:05. Well, no. When they released those cards, it was actually at 9. So say it's 9:05. But there's certainly a way to do it. They can definitely make it better because eventually it's going to get to the point where someone will fight each other for a RTX 50 series card, especially for the value. It's literally you're holding gold in your hands because they know the value of that card when they first get it. It's going to be about like 6,000 to 10,000 USD because they're not going to. They don't just want to game. They don't plan on gaming the first day. They want to cash in. They want to get that 10,000 so they can make some more profit, buy some more RTX 5090s to sell again. It's just how it is. And if you're curious of what I have here, I have the Sapphire 9070. Oh, I got it upside down. I have the Sapphire 9070 XT. It just actually came in on, I think it was Thursday. No. Yeah, it was Thursday. It came in Thursday. It was supposed to come in Wednesday. But when it came in, it literally looked like the UPS truck ran over the box. That's how bad the packaging looked like. It scared me. In fact, I'm surprised how well intact this box is because if you guys seen that live stream on Thursday, it was wrecked. At one side of the box it could literally flap open. The wind could blow it and it would probably flap open. That's how damaged the box was. You can see UPS tried to fix it by just adding some duct tape around it just so it doesn't flap open. But it doesn't change the fact that it was obvious that they missed their truck. They probably chucked it in there and then it fell off and they're like, oh, well, it's going to have to wait till tomorrow. So one defense says, I manage 2 different food manufacturing facilities a mile apart from each other and I can take off when needed. I was at Gamers Nexus and the main Micro Center channel for the launch of 5090. Oh, okay, that's dope. Are you using any tools and automation to order? No, I am not using any tools or any type of automation to make any of these orders. That's a great question, Cheeky, because I certainly make sure that I try to get everything that I have fairly. In fact, mostly I got lucky most times because I was able to get everything within launch, either online or physically at the store, and I wouldn't have issues. Sure, it would be a pain. It would be a real pain in the ass to try to fight Newegg, especially. Just terrible. Everybody knows just how bad Newegg's website is when it comes to ordering items, especially like GPUs. But I managed to get the not 7800. I managed to get the 9070 XT off of Newegg. I just got whatever GPU I could manage. Didn't know which one I got, but I just picked out whatever I could, and it was a surprise to all of us on that Thursday once we unboxed it. I'm glad it was the Sapphire Nitro, and for those who are looking to get a AMD Radeon, definitely take a look at it. It's quite competitive, especially compared to its current predecessors. And I was super nervous when the corner of the 9070 XT shipping box was crushed, but only popped an airbag. It's awesome that they put those airbags in there, because if they didn't, sometimes Newegg will leave. I got some airbags, matter of fact, right here. This is how they packed it. They just grabbed the whole roll and were like, we're not gonna get any damage. It's literally a roll of airbag that they just kind of pulled out and wrapped throughout the whole box. So Newegg definitely did well on that side. I was on game. So Newegg trick was just to select the product, even though said not in stock, and it'll say add to cart. Oh, really? And yes, Skyward King, there will be a restock sometime soon, and there will be a restock soon. It's probably going to end up coming up on around April, more than likely. And this is going to be on the Nvidia side. They claim that they didn't have this recall, but it's pretty obvious that they did because they were supposed to have a large resupply this week, but we don't really see that much of a resupply. Thanks on the fence. I really appreciate it. Oh, I appreciate it. I thank everybody who is part of this content. I mean, part of this channel, because also, if you haven't seen, I am also doing a giveaway to really thank the Fan Bam for making this possible in the first place. What I'm giving away is an SSD Pro with a heatsink. So if you are interested in joining the contest for this, make sure you join it. And I will also be giving away some merch to some of the winners. If you're wondering where the giveaway link is, it's on my newest video. I will definitely post it up in a little bit. I was impressed with Newegg. Both launch cards shipped out the same day. And thank you, but thanks Cheeky. I appreciate it. I love all you guys out there. Have you heard about anything about the RX 9070 XT restock at Micro Center? I did not get one at launch and been waiting for a resupply to come. Now with the RX 9070s, I haven't heard anything right off the bat. I'm going to contact somebody I know and see if they gained information, which is more of insiders. Now now from what I know from the inside part of the industry, that again, they were supposed to release more RX 50 series, especially this upcoming week. In fact, there was supposed to be so many that it was going to make the scalpers feel ridiculous that they have so many graphics cards in the first place. Now, when it comes to AMD side, it's kind of hard to tell, but more than likely, they're usually like 4 weeks apart when they come when it comes to resupply. So you can expect it probably then. It's around the first week has passed. You'll probably see some trickling in within the next week, and you'll see it really pick up like within the third week, and hopefully they'll have plenty. Now, yes, Tuesdays and Thursdays are great. You know what's funny? Any place that, and this goes with any retailer, Tuesdays and Thursdays are usually restock days for many of them. They'll get some that will come in randomly because they'll actually get it FedExed. Especially 50 series, they get those FedExed. And sometimes they could get it on a weird day. And you won't know that they got it until, like, sometimes they'll get it in the afternoon. And they'll just put it out on the shelf. And you may get lucky and be able to get one, but you just have to consistently go to Micro Center every day to get one. And again, with the 9070s, more than likely expect it within like about probably a couple weeks to 3 weeks. You can certainly expect more. Hopefully they don't end up jacking up the prices, because that is a big controversy. I'm sure all of you have heard. If you haven't heard about this controversy about AMD's price going up, it's not on AMD, I'll tell you that. It's a lot of retailers that are pushing up the prices because they said the second batch are affected by the tariffs, and of course they're going to say something like that. There's some websites that posted it up like for 700 originally. It was actually a Sapphire card. They put it up like a card just like this for 700 originally, and now they're gonna, I got it upside down again. So they got a card like this, and now it's marked up to 1,000. But then they make it seem like there's a price reduction. They'll cross off 1,000 and bring it down to 900, and you already know it's $200 too much as it is. Retailer, okay, so last Thursday, Micro Center here had 5090s in stock, even for a minute anyhow. Oh, really? That's some luck. Which Micro Center are you located at, David? I gotta say. I live 1 hour and 45 minutes from Westminster, Illinois Micro Center, and 2 hours from the Chicago Micro Center. I wish it was closer. I agree. Micro Center needs to branch out a lot more. It would be nice if they did. Because if Micro Center just had more locations, I don't know, we just discussed this, it's funny, on the live feed the other day, because whoever designs their Micro Centers, their locations, I don't know, they must be smoking some good stuff, because it's in some weird areas, you gotta say. Like, they'll be close by a major city, but if they are within a major city, it's usually about 40 minutes away. Just like, I know in California, in Tustin, It's in that weird place there, and just like even the one in close to Philly, they have it in St. David's, which is like 40 minutes away. They need to really put it closer to a to the city because it would make a lot more sense, and you have a lot more people trying to get these type of items. They would certainly do great. It's kind of like how they have it here in Miami. They have one. They just opened it last year. So the closest Micro Center to me originally was all the way in Atlanta, Georgia. So from Miami to Atlanta, Georgia's is a 7-hour drive. It's quite the distance. And then and in Orlando, it's going to be quite the drive for them to get to Miami, which is another 3-hour drive. Like a 3-hour drive for them. Tampa, 3 hours to get here. Just to try to go to a Micro Center, to a computer parts store. But they certainly should invest into more stores. They would do excellent for sure. And even branch out internationally. They would do great in Europe because they definitely need physical retailers themselves as well. Best Buy isn't looking so good. I have to say, dude, ours is in a really sketchy area. Scary buying $1,000 items. Yeah, I don't blame you. There's been times, I gotta admit, you have to bring something with you because you never know if there's gonna be some psychopath trying to take away your card. I remember I went to a Best Buy. This is years ago. I went to a Best Buy. I went to go try to get an Xbox 360, right? And when I went to go get this Xbox 360, it was just brandly launched. It was a new launched, but the scary part, it's like right over by some tracks. And anytime you see a railroad tracks, you know you're not going to be in the greatest area. But man, that was the longest walk home in my life. I was just paranoid. And of course, at the time I was young. I was a kid, just going through, just trying to make it home safely and not get stabbed or shot over a console. So imagine standing in line outside with $1,000 in your pocket, waiting for. That's scary too. And I'm sure everyone out there, if you are going to get a PC part and you have cash, please really be careful and also have something with you to protect yourself because you really have some crazy people out there. Now, the Westmont, Illinois Micro Center is in the middle of a very rich area, Lamborghini dealership. Oh, that's a group. So, yeah, if you're in a place like that, then I wouldn't worry about it. It's those who have to go through those sketchy areas or through those areas where you have to question, is it okay that I wait outside a Micro Center at 4 in the morning in this area? Those are the places you gotta watch. Yes, personal protection items. And I personally love Micro Center. In fact, when they first opened up, they had this really cool mug. I have it I gotta show it to you, but they had this really cool mug when they first opened up, and I had to grab a couple of them. It was me and my wife. We actually went over there, and we actually got one mug each, and they were giving them out as part of their grand opening. And I'm just glad that they finally opened up one, but they really, logistically, they really have to add more because I don't even think they have about, what is it, like 14? I think it's like 14 Micro Centers, right? Across the whole US. It's not really many. I know they have them in Pennsylvania. I know they have them in Florida. They have them in New York. They have them in the Illinois area. They have them in California. And something I've just learned too is I've learned in the California area, you would think there would be a lot more Micro Centers, right? But they actually don't have as many as I thought they did. 28. Oh, really? So it's definitely, the number's starting to come up quite a bit. Because the last time I looked, I remember it was ridiculously small. But now it seems like they are starting to branch out. Hopefully they start building a lot quicker. Maybe the sales of these RTX cards and the sales of these RX 9000 series cards will really push them into opening up more stores. It would just make a lot more sense to them. Yes. So so the crazy part is, well, I was really worried about this item. Now 28, well, that's still not very. It is. Because 5 hours around, yeah, I live in rural Minnesota. That's tough. They have them in Michigan, I believe, which sucks. I hope that they eventually get one in Wisconsin. It would be, yeah. Because Wisconsin from Illinois is quite the drive. I know, like, I heard, you know what's funny? I don't know how true this is, but I know somebody that was from Wisconsin and in the Green Bay area, and they said that driving to Chicago is just like a normal drive for them. And I feel that's insane because it's like, isn't it like an 8 hour drive? And they said they would just go there on the weekend because that's what they would do for fun is they would go to a place like Chicago and they would drive 8 hours like it was nothing. But definitely they should have some in Wisconsin. It would make sense. They definitely have they and drive to yeah, it's crazy though. Just to make it certain drives. I almost drove to Micro Center all the way in Atlanta just because I wanted to go to one. I was dying without one down here. And have you guys, I gotta say, have any of you guys been to Best Buy recently? Because I gotta ask you that. Especially when say you wanted to get some computer parts, some peripherals, you wanted to pick up a mouse, you wanted to pick up a keyboard, you wanted to take a glance at some motherboards or CPUs at Best Buy. Have you guys went to one recently? Because man, Best Buy looks like they're in bad shape. Because when you go in there, I remember it used to be a really nice store. I used to look forward to going to Best Buy. And now when you go there, their GPU selection is just, at least they had mid-tier GPU selections before, but it's almost like they're one generation behind. Yeah, now Best Buy, I'm not saying that they're bad. They still have some decent stuff. Like you can get PC cases. They do have some of the latest peripherals you can get, especially from ASUS, like how they had the ASUS Ally as one of the, I think they were one of the only retailers to have it to release there first. And that's where I actually got mine, was at a Best Buy. I had to do it for pickup. My local Best Buys don't really have anything I want. And usually they are too expensive for what they are. Agreed. They'll sell some last generation headphones for retail price. Even though you know that, say, there's a third generation for it already, and it's the same exact price. It's just, some of their pricing doesn't make sense at all. Now, some of their stores are kind of, yeah, like ratty old TVs, floor models just stacked up for sale. Nobody wants them. How about the fact that you can't purchase any physical games from them, especially for those who say have a console, you want to go try to get a physical game. But now that Best Buy said, we don't want to do that anymore. We don't want to sell any physical games. I think that's really ridiculous because that was one of the main reasons why a lot of people went to Best Buy was for that. Now when it comes to their TV side, they have some, it's funny because I remember everybody would go to Best Buy to see what the latest TVs were. But now it's almost like there are so many great TVs out there that it's hard for them to really sell what's on the floor. Even, remember I think their Magnolia Center, remember that? Like where it's like all their high-end tech, all their high-end speakers and everything for the entertainment center when it comes to the living room. Now it's like, there's like nothing there. It's like non-existent anymore. It seems like they actually removed the place, like say like a Samsung store into the store, or maybe they expanded their Apple store a little bit bigger into the store. It's almost like they don't really have their own tech side anymore. I just got my build ordered on Amazon mostly. I had mostly had to go AMD since the Nvidia GPU I was planning got skyrocketed in price. I know exactly what you mean, because originally I wanted to get the RTX 5090 for the channel to really benchmark it compared to the RTX 4090. But day by day, I'm just losing a lot of interest. Now I'm doubtful of even getting one anymore. Especially the fact that they've took away a lot of great features like DX9 and PhysX. I feel that it's ridiculous that they chose to do so, because there's games that I still want to play, such as I still want to play New Vegas. I'm actually in the middle of still beating it. It's funny to hear that I'm still playing New Vegas on the RTX 4090, but it's just a great game, and I've never beat it, so I just want to beat the game. I got a second 4090 after I camped out for the 4090 at the Micro Center. I found out I was placed in priority access to buy the 4090's Founder Edition. Oh, that's awesome. Wow, that is pretty insane. If you were able to get the 4090's Founder Edition, that is awesome. That's a very tough card to get. I heard the 50 Series Founders Edition, I hear very mixed things about it. In fact, that like somebody's heat plate actually came off their 5090 really easily, relatively easy. And they're looking at it and they're like, this is what's really cooling it. And more than likely, it seems like if you really think about the 50 series and the 40 series, they're actually not that far apart. Even the process die is the same. It's 5 nanometers. It's just 2 different chipsets. You got Ada Lovelace and you got Blackwell. But the only thing that they added different to Blackwell was that they added more voltage to it. They added not voltage, they added more watts to the graphics card, so that way it can outperform the, say, RTX 4090, but not by a lot. It's going to outperform it, I think, about usually about 10 to 20%. But on Amazon, I had the 3060, the build I'm making, it went from 275 to 450. So I decided to go with 6600 XT. Nothing wrong with this 6600 XT. It's still a great graphics card, and I'm sure it still plays a lot of great titles perfectly fine. Now, Dave S., we play old games. Yes, we do. Everybody plays old games. Now, take a listen to this. Let me just highlight Dave real quick because because from what he said is true. Now, this is a crazy conspiracy theory I thought of. And it may make a lot of sense to everybody out there because I think it certainly does. And the fact that you have Nvidia and game partners, to say, or game developers. They all sit together at a board meeting, say in February. Or no, let's just say November, because right before the cards got released. So you have Nvidia and game developers, and we'll use Bethesda Studios, for example, since we're on that topic. So they're both sitting down and they're talking to each other, and they're saying, hey, I have an idea how we both can make money. We just won't really optimize our games as much, so that way you can sell more hardware to Nvidia. Nvidia's like, that's a great idea. Or maybe it was vice versa. Maybe Nvidia thought of it. And they both discuss, yeah, that's great. We'll come up with this idea. They shake hands because the studios, the developers are saying that they're running out of ideas. They're not really coming out with these great games anymore. So they want to remaster a lot of titles. And I'm sure all of you notice that a lot of games are getting remastered instead of more original games. So they're saying, well, let's remaster these games, but we just won't optimize them. Instead, we're just going to require, the minimum requirements are going to be a 30 series. Say the minimum requirements going to be a RX 6000 series. And that is the problem. That's 100% the problem. That is just something I just thought up of. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. It makes a lot of sense, right? Because it's going to force you to buy a new game, and you're forced to get new hardware. So it's because you can't play PhysX anymore. So, and you can't play, you can't use DirectX 9 anymore. So now you have to get a remake of the title so you can finally play it. There's a rumor. Reason why I use Bethesda Studios, I don't have anything against them, is because and I'm sure if you haven't heard that, not Morrowind, but Oblivion, they're actually supposed to remake Oblivion with Unreal Engine 5. I know all of you guys love Unreal Engine 5 out there. Yes, and my 5090 cannot play PhysX. Damn it. And that's the crazy part. But you know, the funny thing is, somebody who has the RTX 5090, and hopefully you have some older cards laying around, because what they did, somebody did this, was that they added the RTX 3060 into their second PCI Express slot, so that way that they can play their games such as New Vegas, or play Mirror's Edge, or any type of game that uses that type of tech. So just like what Jensen says, the more GPUs that you buy, you save. I do. Oh, that's what you did too? Which card did you decide to put in there? Oh, the 3050. That makes sense. PC gamers want backwards compatibilities, and consoles didn't have that for the most part. Let's not ruin PC gaming the same way. That's what it seems like. It's almost like PS5 is practically a glorified PS4 or PS3, because right now it's just like I have one, so I'm not biased, of course, against PlayStation, but I haven't bought any games on it because it's just been the same games really coming out on it. I feel like I don't honestly want to get a console anymore because PlayStation games are getting released on PC anyway, and I have a ton of titles I'm guilty of not playing. In fact, I have a code for Monster Hunter Wilds, and I still haven't gotten to download it because, unfortunately, for me to use that code, I have to do the PC build, because I tried to verify it through AMD, and because I got it from purchasing the AMD processor. But since I have a 9800 X3D, I thought, let me try to verify through that. It didn't work. So I have to build this PC for me to enable that code. But PC gamers want backwards compatibilities. Exactly. That was the thing. There's a reason why we have a huge Steam library. Everybody's guilty of having hundreds of games in their Steam library. Now, AC says, yeah, speaking of, I generally feel that they intentionally do not optimize games for the sake of GPU sales, with AAA game developers mostly. Monster Hunters, Wilds, for yes, agreed. It just doesn't make any sense for them. They just are getting lazy to the point where they don't want to come up with their own engine anymore. Instead, they just want to piggyback off of Unreal Engine 5. And we haven't seen any great titles. Now, I've heard great things about Kingdom Come 2. That's a really good game. I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet, but I heard it's a wild game. I lose 3% raster. So, oh really? So that sucks. So you are splitting power between lanes. But I mean, it's probably not too much of a loss, I would imagine, because that's the thing. Everyone's complaining about losing power to the PCI Express 5 bus. But the thing is, to be honest, we're not using the full capacity of PCI Express 5 anyway. We haven't even used the full capacity of PCI Express 4. Maybe now we are, but at the time, like when the 40 series came out, we weren't really using that much power off of PCI Express 4. Another example, game not optimized, is Final Fantasy Rebirth. True. And that's a game I actually wanted to get on PC, but it's becoming unattractive when you have games where it just looks terrible. Just like, remember Last of Us when they released on PC? How terrible it was once it released. You had Joel with missing some of the textures on his face. He had half a beard. What was up with that? What's up? What's up, Bando? Good to see you. Hopefully you're enjoying the live stream. Everyone who is just tuning in, my name's Chris Mizo. I usually talk about PC and tech. Hopefully you are enjoying it. If you do, please don't forget to give a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to the channel. Be part of the wonderful fan band, because we love to talk about PC and tech. And I also have a Discord channel you can enter. I am doing a free giveaway for those, especially in the fan band. Make sure you sign up, because I am trying to do a Samsung 990 Pro. It has the heatsink, so you could choose to put it in a PS5 if you want to. And I will be giving away some merch. Please do join the giveaway. If you're looking for the link, I forgot to put it in the description box. I apologize for that, but it is in my latest video of the ASUS B850 board. You can find it in there in the pinned comments. It's going to be on Gleam. But if you run a second GPU with a 5090, no matter what a motherboard, I agree. So if you have a 5090, you're going to have to. You're definitely going to have to make room to have it. Currently, what I have on my current PC build, I have an RTX 4090. Now, even if I did get the 5090, I'm going to keep the 4090 in there, because I just don't. Sure, the 5090 can probably have more power and everything, but it's not attractive to me, the fact that it doesn't have PhysX and DirectX 9, in my personal opinion. Now, the good thing is, for those who are thinking of switching AMD, it's not a bad choice. I mean, take a look at this beautiful box alone. And they packaged it really wonderful. Sapphire's Nitro Plus is awesome. If you want to see that, it's on my other prior live stream where I unboxed it. VRAM is important for GPUs. It's not a myth. It's 100% important, especially if you're trying to play, say, on a 4K monitor. You're going to need the VRAM. If you're playing on a 1080p monitor, it won't be as crazy. If you're playing on an ultrawide, just like I got right over here, if you're using an ultrawide, I would, VRAM is somewhat important to it, depending on how high you have your settings. It just depends on how you set your game. Now, if you want ultra everything, VRAM is going to be eaten up. It's going to take up a lot of space. For me, a personal game that is being optimized well are Rage 2. I gave my 5600G to my brother, and now he's playing it on high without a GPU. Oh, really? That's awesome. Because that's another thing that's really underrated is the APUs by AMD. They make some excellent ones. I remember when I was at CES, it wasn't this year, but it was last year, they were demonstrating the AMD 8600, and it was excellent. And the game that they were actually demonstrating on, ironically, we're talking about Bethesda Studios, they were playing it on Starfield without issue. No GPU, just the APU itself, which is incredible. In fact, even on the ASUS ROG Ally, I feel like it plays excellent. It's just all about how you optimize the settings. And certainly, if you're worried about the VRAM, what I would suggest to do is to make sure, if you're worried about the VRAM, is just to make sure to have these settings correctly set. Just don't have everything maxed out. And sometimes the models inside, or not models, I should say, but the optimization settings when it comes to Adrenaline or it comes to Nvidia's app now. If you use that setting, that can help, but you can always modify it to your liking because it's only could do so much because you have to get an idea of how your input lag is for your monitor. I would set it on the lower end first and then adjust it up there. But then there's a whole nother side where you can get into overclocking and everything too if you're into that. For me personally, let me see, I read that one already. 8 gigabytes of VRAM is acceptable if you're not playing most. I agree. 8 gigabytes is perfectly fine if you're not playing AAA titles, because the AAA titles are just look like they belong in the toilet at this point. Honestly, games such as a Power World, for example. Power World was an excellent game, right? You only spent $30 on it, and it was a great game for what they offered, and it wasn't made by a AAA studio. They made a killing off of it. I think it is pretty funny, though. Pokemon tried to go after them. The Pokemon company, they tried to go after them, but I don't think really much came out of the case. I know they went after them some more, but I think they're still trying to go after Power World. But it's just funny in that case. Oh, thank you On Defense for your donation. I really appreciate it. I do appreciate it a lot for this channel. Definitely helps because we could do more builds and we could do more giveaways, of course. Thank you so much for it. And VRAM is the big issue now. Cards come with too little. Yes, they just like how I brought up the RTX 5060. It's just insane. The RTX 5060 is just terrible. Now, it has 8 gigabytes of VRAM. Now, today it's okay, right? Today's standard, it's okay. With today's games, it's perfectly okay. You know what else we have to go back to, honestly? And I'm sure all of you can agree to this too, is that what we have to do is have developers start to create their own reflections, their own lighting, like they used to. Just think of games just like Splinter Cell back in the day, right? Splinter Cell used their own type of creation in order to do so, in order to create those lighting effects. That was what was really breaking in the gaming industry, was just how they developed it. But now we got to the point where they just rely on the RTX, the ray tracing from the card, or the path tracing from the cards to do its job, to start doing all the reflections by itself. So they feel like this is how we can do it. And let alone when they do release the game, it is not that great. On Defense says, I would buy the 9700 XT Sapphire Nitro if I could not afford the 5090, it is a great card. I 100% agree with you. It is a great card. The Splinter, yes. Splinter Cell was the original Xbox. Yes. It was amazing. That game was just breaking. I remember just how amazing it was, just going through the hallways, just hiding in the dark. It was just a great game, because the idea of just a middle-aged guy just taking out these guys, it was just a completely different aspect when it came to gaming, and he was just a badass character. And are there any advantages to run a RX 7800 XT in PCI Express 4 speeds? Now, if there's any advantages, I wouldn't really say that there's advantages. I mean, technically it should be running at X16. I would ask more if there's more disadvantages, because usually it should be at X16 speeds. It would be a little bit noticeable if you would be running it at X4 speeds for sure. There are some games that I say that are great even with low VRAM. I've been playing Frogpunk on a Quattro T1000, and it'll run great with my new card. Agreed. Again, there is a ton of games that are out there. Support those little guys, because they make some excellent games. There was this really cool Terminator game. It was, in fact, that somebody brought it up on Discord. Oh, he might be referring to PCI Express 4. That is true. He could be referring to PCI Express. Yeah, maybe you're referring to PCI Express 4 compared to PC. Now, if there's advantage, maybe just slightly. It's not going to be huge from PCI Express 3 to PCI Express 4, because if you take a look at it, actually I did a video based on this before where I was comparing graphic cards lanes, like PCI Express 3 and 4 specifically, I think it was. I didn't do 5 because, again, we're just hitting 5 now. But between the two, it's not a large gap of a difference. You might notice maybe 5%. It's not going to be a large difference, especially if you're thinking of trying to upgrade a whole motherboard to do so. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't upgrade a motherboard. It's actually a great asset to change out, especially if you're looking to future-proof your PC. It's definitely a good way to do it, but I wouldn't expect a large leap. But if you are experiencing any type of bottlenecking, it will improve on those aspects. If you're gaming on, say, an older motherboard, and your card will be a lot more, there'll be a lot more breathing room for your card to be able to be at its full capacity, if that's the case. Now, let's see. I speed because of build. Also, I've been watching benchmarks on the GPU I'm grabbing, the 6600 XT. Surprisingly, it can run. Yeah, I mean, even this device here, which I'll show you, the ASUS ROG Ally, right? This device right here, it's a little device, but it has the power to run games such as Cyberpunk. So that lets you know right then and there, it's definitely capable. And it's up to the developers to do so. Because remember when, good morning, Ezekiel, good to see you. I hope you grabbed your coffee. I haven't gotten a chance to get my coffee yet, unfortunately. I wish I was able to bring the camera out into my kitchen so I can make some coffee. But I gotta say, speaking of which, Cyberpunk 2077, the crazy part is, it's originally when it first came out. Remember, it was I think it was the 2000, RTX 2000 series when Cyberpunk came out. And it was not optimized very well. It played it wasn't great. The most I remember, because at the time, I had the 2080, was it the 2080? Yeah, the 2080 Ti it was. And the most I can pull out of it was like 45 frames at the time, because it wasn't developed. It was kind of rushed out. They wanted to get the game out there, and it was just like missing a bunch of stuff. It was just terrible in the beginning. But Cyberpunk has turned a leaf. I mean, it hasn't turned a leaf. It turned into a freaking tree. It turned into a wonderful game, I gotta say. It was that is an example of how optimization can work. They worked hard enough to the point where they made sure that the game runs smooth. They even have these path tracing settings, which makes the game look insane. But oh man, that's tough. So I'm guessing you just came back from a overnight shift, because Dave S, I'm buying Cyberpunk this Steam sale. It's under $30. Yeah. You know, the funny thing is, I've heard great things, but I haven't gotten to play the expansion pack on Cyberpunk. I think it's called, what is it? Something Liberty. I gotta get that. I definitely gotta get it this time. On defense, it was garbage 2020, and 2080 Ti is slow as hell on it. Yes. Yeah, I agree. It wasn't the greatest card. I actually really disliked that card a lot, because it was, to make it worse, it was MSI Ventus, or how do you say it? The MSI Ventus RTX 2080 Ti. That's what I had. And I don't have it anymore. I actually changed out the card and put it in 3080 Ti. And that's what I use to do more of the creation videos that I have, like for the long format videos and the short formats. But yes, 2080 Ti was an early access overpriced GPU, necessary for beginning of ray tracing. And Phantom Liberty, that is correct. That's right on the fence. That's what it was. Phantom Liberty. I'm waiting on the GPU from a UPS right now. I am stoked. Then tomorrow the rest of the parts come. So did you get all your parts, AC? That's awesome. I'm excited for you. I hope you post up pictures. Please join the Discord and share your build, because I would love to hear from you and see pictures of it, because I love seeing all PC builds. That's everybody. Everybody in here, join the Discord, share your build. I should make a channel just on PC builds specifically. And I make sure to go on my Discord to answer all of you, because I know it's just fun talking to everyone who is into PC and tech. Now, it is time to upgrade the 7700K in my 1080 Ti. Yes. I'll tell you right now, Crispy, yes. You gotta definitely do it. Go for the upgrade. Again, you don't have to get top tier parts. You don't have to get the X870E ASUS Hero, right? You don't have to get something like that. In fact, the motherboard, just like this, the B850, you can actually catch this on sale once in a while, like just under $200. It's something like this, the B850 Plus Wi-Fi tough gaming motherboard. The tough line's really good. And same with this. Even this GPU, you don't even have to get something like, oh, I keep holding this upside down. I don't know how it's happening, but you don't have to get this right off the bat if you're on a stricter budget. Nothing wrong with starting on a 9070, because you can always upgrade later. That's a wonderful thing about PC builds. You're not limited. It's not like a console to where you're stuck with it. You can upgrade parts whenever you want. I'm going to be running a 6600 XT with a Ryzen 5 5500. Not the best, but it's going to be much better than the ThinkPad I game on. I agree. You're certainly going to love it no matter what. And you can definitely, I bet you could do this build cheaper than even a PS5 Pro. Because really, when you think about a PS5 Pro, just think about how expensive it really is. You're purchasing the console for $750. Plus, you got to get the disc, the optical disc. If you want to add it on there, it's like another $90. You get the stand, it's another 50 or 60. It's a ridiculous price for a stand. And then on top of it, you have to get PS Plus online. I don't know how much it is now. I remember it being 50. I heard it's 70. It's something crazy now. I don't even have it, to be honest with you. But I heard it's something like you have to get PS Plus. You have to be able to, in order to enjoy your games, you have to have the correct headset. You spend so much when it comes to console gaming. It's insane. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that when you build a PC, such as the build you're doing, AC, you're definitely going to save a ton. So, Ezekiel says 1080 Ti was my first GPU. Laugh out loud, I am old school. Here you go. I'll make you feel young if I tell you the first GPU I had. Mark Similar says, I see what you're saying, but you know, most computers these days don't have disk drives anymore. That's true. But to be honest, like when it comes to disk drives, if you really wanted one, they have them, the USB peripheral if you do want to get a disk drive, or you can build a PC with a disk drive. You just have to pick out the right case in order to do so. Get a retro case. You can certainly do it off of a retro case. And I have an X870E Tai Chi and X870 Tai Chi 9950 X3D, 64 gigabytes of G.Skill. Oh wow, that is low latency. Man, that's a beast of a PC. I gotta know your benchmarks on the fence. I had to highlight that. That's quite insane. I gotta know your benchmarks. That's quite the rig. Yes, thank you. Please like this stream. And yes, the algorithm can be quite the pain because YouTube will shoot me down real quick, or any other platform such as or Twitch or whatever. But external drives, yes, they do have external drives. Just like how On the Fence Tech mentions, it's good. I wouldn't build it in. I would say just get the external drive. Just get the USB version just to plug in as a peripheral, because the thing about it is you're not going to really use it, to be honest. Now, the funny thing is, for those who have recently done builds, you've probably seen like motherboards where they come with the optical drive, and you're like, what am I going to do with this? I don't have an optical drive anymore. Because that's how they used to do things. Like your drivers would be off of the optical drive, but now everything is going to be on either USB format now, which they finally switched over to, or they're gonna tell you to just get it online. So Mark's Similar says, I do love my PC, but it wasn't cheap. Looking about $4,000 for mine. My motherboard was $600. Yeah, motherboards have gotten quite pricey. And I can tell you back then, like this is 2013, a high-end motherboard or a decent motherboard was $300. So what a $600 motherboard was today was $300 back then, 300 USD then. Now, me too, I got the Tai Chi X870E and the 7900 XTX. Yeah, that's actually an excellent motherboard there. And you have quite the beast as well. I got to know your benchmarks, because that's quite the combination. I actually like the ASRock Tai Chi line. In fact, their not 7900, but their 9070 XT that they do have, I heard it's very quiet and it's quite the beast. And Dave S says the Tai Chi board was way overpriced, dude. They're like $600. Is it? Yeah, that's what he spent, $600. Mark Similar says 36 terabytes. Damn. That would be nice to have. Nobody could have enough storage, and that's something that they definitely have to work on. They're trying to bring some more storage solutions, because they know M2 drive is limited to its capabilities. They're trying to bring back like not U2, I think it's U2 and U3, in fact. And U2 and U3, they can expand and get you that type of storage, which is like something like 30 to 50 terabytes, and that would be lovely for everyone. But first graphics card was a 9600 and I have the Tai Chi 9070 Ti. Oh wow, yes, Dave, that I remember, because that is an amazing graphics card. Because the crazy part is it's nice to have a silent GPU, because have you ever had a GPU where it has that coil whine where it gets pretty annoying? It just whines and you can hear it. It almost sounds like it's just like a loud whine. That's the best way I can describe it. And if you have it, it's annoying. It's really annoying. I notice that typically the cards that have it, I know MSI usually does. MSI has that kind of coil whine, depending on the type of reference, the type of card that you get. And the same, sometimes ASUS will have it on some of their cards, I noticed. I think the 3080, I remember had it, the 3080 Ti. Also, but Gigabyte's been pretty good. Gigabyte's actually pretty silent. I haven't really experienced any coil whine with them. Now, I spent $449 on a X870E Tai Chi at launch of the board. That's a good price. That's an excellent price to get that board. Because I remember they were trying to really do some great sales when they originally came out. Now, I got the ASUS Tough B550 for $150. It's AM4, but I could always swap it. Oh, really? Man, I would say, like, if you could AC. But, I mean, you already got the motherboard. I was going to say, if you could, I would go ahead and try to go for the Tough B850. Because if you catch it on sale, it's only $190. And you can get a cheaper processor to start the build. That way you can kind of be ahead of the game. Only thing is, then DDR5 is a bit more expensive. Not that much more expensive, but it's a little bit more expensive, I gotta say, for DDR4. But yeah, for sure. Or you can throw a 5800 X3D. That's a legendary processor, by the way. That processor, the 5800 X3D, that belongs on a wall. I want a plaque. Because that just completely redefined gaming. Like when it came to PC gaming. And Crispy says, my first graphics card was a 3D FX Voodoo 3. See, now that's what I'm talking about. I remember those. The funny thing is, let me tell you this. When I was younger, we had this old Sony Vaio PC. And I'm sure you guys remember, especially from that generation, Sony Vaio was like great. It was the best PC. But it was getting to the point where I noticed that games were really lagging. I couldn't play the games I wanted. I was trying to play games such as like Soul Reaver and what else? GTA 3. Games like that, but I still played it anyway because as a kid, it was just cool that you could game on a PC, but even though that there was this lag, but you just didn't quite understand it. But then later you learn that if you get a graphics card, it can certainly beef up your PC. So I told my father, I said, hey, I need to get a new part for this PC. There's something wrong. I need it for school. And I ended up getting Nvidia's, I think it was Nvidia's 480, because it was like brand new. You guys might remember this model. It has like the mermaid on front of their GPU. And I think at the time, Nvidia was the only ones that really made their cards. They weren't really huge at the time, but it was like the greatest card. And I remember it was like $400, which was really expensive for a graphics card. I told my pop, we really need this. I need to do my homework. I have to get it done. And he bought it. He bought the card. And when he bought the card, I was able to game on all the games that I wanted to. But I just traded this offer on the 5900X in the X370 Tai Chi. Oh, wow. Oh, really? So if only had I known I could put my GPU in that parent's computer back in the day. That's what I did. And it was hilarious. Like when I put that in there, I'm not sure if he ever figured it out or not, but man, my games were running just silky smooth. Like it was just gravy. And now Mark Similar says, my first game I played on PC where I needed a graphics card was Max Payne. Yes, that was, you just memory unlocked right there. Max Payne. That was, I remember it was quite laggy. It was another game that I was playing too. I think that was around the same time, if I'm not mistaken, like GTA 3 and Max Payne. I was playing those games, but Matrix mode, Bullet Time it was called. Bullet Time seemed like it was just extra slow. So AC says, I'm fairly new to PC gaming, started out in 2023. And I went with the classic. First game I ever played on PC was the original Half-Life. Quite an amazing game. Half-Life is definitely one of the best games you could really play on PC. Now, I hope that you're all excited for Half-Life 3. I know I am excited for Half-Life 3 for sure. If it's true, now, I don't know how true it is. But the funny thing is, ask Gabe, the owner of Valve, like what he's currently playing, and he says he's playing Stalker 2 currently. And he's on his 4th round already playing it, trying to get an alternate ending, which is pretty insane. And I played so much Command and Conquer on our family PC. Yes, that was another game. That was another great game to play. And you know what else was really big too was this was even before Warcraft was Warcraft 3, like when RTSs were really big. And you don't really see as many RTSs anymore. Now it's mostly just like what was like a last real good RTS, you gotta say. But Warcraft was great. And they also had, I think it was StarCraft too. That was another game. StarCraft was quite the beast. The game must have run on anything. Warcraft 2 and Diablo 2 took most of my time. Yes. Diablo 2 was just addictive. And a lot of the newer Diablos, it's hard for those to kind of live up to where it lives up to now, because Diablo is quite the franchise. I mean, Diablo 4, it's good and all, but for some reason, it doesn't have me hooked just like the other games. Diablo 3, I didn't feel was as good, but Diablo 4, I still have to beat it. I haven't beat the game yet. I think I'm like halfway through, and I mostly kind of go onto a lot of these side quests anyway, so I always get distracted, and I just want to end up destroying these like the ghouls and everything. Then I got two 4090s for the 100 a piece. Someone approached me at Walmart to play The Witcher. Oh, really? That's pretty insane. That's someone. And those theme park simulators were early RTS. That's true. Because that was like remember when you did the whole roller coaster tycoon, right? And then you would purposely leave a gap in the track, or you would have some crazy loop, right? You would have some crazy loop like this upside down loop, and you would have it launch up, and there you just disconnect the track to see if your trolley would make it across, which was hilarious. But every time you could see it just burn out. So gotta love the dial-up connection. 56K for the win. Yes. Remember how that was like when you were trying to get online on AOL? It would just be you would check your email, because that was the new thing was, you got mail. You would hope to hear that when you opened up AOL. Then I got two 6890s to mine crypto. Then Diablo 2 Remastered was cool nostalgia, but then I realized how much of a grind it was. Yes, and that's the thing. Diablo 2 definitely takes up a lot of time. And if you take a look at the hours that everyone puts into those games are insane, because it's just like, that was one of those games where you could easily put like 500 hours if you were really on it. Yeah, it was just insane. I do hope that Diablo can kind of go back to that type of style, because it was amazing. Diablo 2 Remastered was cool, nostalgia, but then I realized it 100% is. I didn't know what to use the internet for back then until I heard Napster. Yes, I think that was like the age of pirating, because you could download MP3s, and you were able to burn CDs. That's when everyone wanted to get an optical drive, because when you went to go get the originally, I know this has gotten way off topic, but now it ended up being about nostalgia. But Average Gamer XP, originally it was about the AMD and Nvidia, that their controversies are just non-ending. It was about the stock supply. Thank you for also coming in, Average Gamer XP. Just to go by what I've talked about earlier, is that Nvidia's 50 series, about their restock, is more than likely probably not going to happen within about the next 3 weeks or so. Now with AMD's RX 9070, it's going to be more than likely the same, because first, Nvidia claims that this whole recall did not happen. They didn't recall 90%, but if that's true, then where is all the GPUs? And it just seems that they haven't been really trustworthy with their words, because they've also said that they shipped out twice as many cards than the 40 series specifically. They said 40 series, kind of a play on words, because The 5090 and 5080 both came out at the same time, so it made it seem like that they shipped out more units than the RTX 4090. So we're on the topic of that, and now we're kind of just going back onto the topic and just talking about the technology that we kind of grew up on, the nostalgia of everything, of Napster, and yes, Heather. Oh yes, internet was like unlocked. Yes, that's what it was, and that's when they. That's yeah, that's true. We were like way off topic an hour ago because I think it went from game studios. We were talking about game studios originally, and then we went into talking about the into the graphic card companies such as Nvidia, how they more than likely probably make dealings with something like this because you have unoptimized games and then you have new hardware. So it just makes perfect sense for people to purchase new hardware in order to play a remastered game. Because at that, and they also, on top of it, their master plan have taken away, say, like PhysX and DirectX 9, so you can't play those type of games anymore on the 50 series. Luckily, on AMD side, they haven't taken it away yet, but it just makes a lot of sense for sure. 32. That's why you need 32 terabytes. There's all about AI. Their QC sucks. It's true because if you know Nvidia's capital, right? If you ever take a look at Nvidia's capital, to just get back right onto the topic real quick. If you ever take a look at it, you have 28 billion that belongs to gamers, right? On the gaming side, the consumer side, it sounds like a lot, right? 28 billion. But compared to their enterprise side, it's at 1.2 trillion. So what is 28 billion compared to 1.2 trillion? So to them, we're just a very, very minuscule part compared to how much money they make off of their enterprise side. And the funny thing is, it feels like, oh, what's up on the, oh, how old am I? I am 37 now, believe it or not. 37 years old. Yeah. So now you know how old I am and the generation that I came from when it comes to PC building. I'm from the PC building age when we had to use IDE cables, if you remember those. And remember the Molex. They actually still have some of them. But the Molex connections, oh yeah, yeah. We've been quite through the generation. Back when RGBs were that they were like a pre-lit fan, like where they had a neon light, practically, like you had a blue fan, and you thought that was the coolest thing you've ever seen. I got 10 on you. Oh man, but nothing wrong with that. Just 10 years wiser. You've definitely seen more than what we did. DeepSeek is going to flip them, and yeah, I can see that. It's funny because remember when DeepSeek came out and they said that, oh, Nvidia is like, oh, don't worry about them. We don't have to worry about DeepSeek at all. And then their stock dropped phenomenally, and they're like, oh yeah, it's just an overreaction. And right now they're not looking so great. A lot of it has to do economy wise, but it's just funny that it's just that they pulled the rug on Nvidia. Commodore 64 was our first family PC. Wow. Yeah, I remember that. Doom on PC, yes. That was actually one of the first games I actually played was a Doom on PC. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And the games were quite different. I gotta say, on PC back then. They just felt like they had this whole different feel because it almost felt like when you had a PC, it was almost like a key to every type of game that you could ever think of. That, and I know you guys know all of this too. Everyone that has the older that's come from that generation is when they came out with emulators. Emulators was something everyone had to do. And remember how they had the Game Boy emulators originally, and then what else was it? I think it was like they had N64, Nintendo 64, they had Super Nintendo. Those were some amazing emulators and ROMs. And back then, you didn't have to worry about going on a website and downloading these ROMs and worrying about getting some type of virus. Back then, it was a lot more freedom on the internet for sure. Scorched Earth or Beast as, oh yeah. I remember. You know what's funny? A DOS game that I really liked was Keen. Remember Commander Keen? That was an amazing game back in the day. I asked for a Nintendo and ended up getting a T. Oh, that is hilarious. You know what's funny? My grandmother, like when I was younger, she got me a TV too, and it was like one of those little portable TVs with the antenna. It was like that little white one where it's black and white. You might know exactly which one I'm talking about too. But I ended up getting that as a gift. ICQ, yes. Yes. I remember ICQ. And now AOL Instant Messaging, to go back on them. Yahoo Messaging was really big. MSN Messenger. And at the time, it was really amazing that you were able to connect via webcam. Because you can just meet so many different people. And everybody would just kind of just talk to each other. It was quite insane. I grew up when we had one TV and we had to get two to share the second one. You know what was great too back then, especially when it comes to PC gaming, is you actually had LAN parties. Because remember when you had PCs and you would be able to have like a rig that you can bring over to your friend's house, or you would be able, even like the consoles back then, like if you had an Xbox, you could bring it over a friend's house and you could do a LAN party with them. You just had to hook it up to another TV, and that was the most amazing thing ever, having something like that. Oh yeah. Yep. Oh my gosh. I remember that. I bet you if you throw that out there, nobody's going to really know what that is anymore. Enter television console. This is funny. I got to highlight this. Let me see. Where is it at? Right there. Oh, there you go. That was hilarious back in the day. That was everybody's first message. I don't know why it was so important, because that was the most important thing that you had to figure out about the other person. And yes, they were so fun. I had all the cables and switches so we can link 4 boxes and play. And that's exactly what we did. We played Halo. That was a ton of fun playing Halo like that. And we used to bust each other for that, like for sniping somebody that was like just walking out in the dunes in Halo. Or yeah, that was an amazing time when Halo was great. And Halo, you've really got to, I don't know what happened to you, but you got to come back. You got to come back with like a vengeance, because I don't know what's happened to the series, honestly. But Halo was amazing. But the TSMC wafer is spread too thin between all You know, what do you guys think of Intel's 18A that's coming out? That's going to compare with TSMC. TSMC has they have some excellent plans though too as well, because TSMC, they're also going to build some fabs in Arizona. They're going to build, I think it is 3 more, and they're going to work on the 2 nanometer nodes over there, so that way it becomes more local. Now the 18A, it's a new development, and again, I'm always kind of sketched out when it comes to Intel when they do have these new developments, but it's supposed to be very comparable to the 2NM. So I believe the first system I had was the Atari Lynx. Yeah, you know what's I didn't really have the luxury, unfortunately, to have a game system at first. So we used to go over a friend's house to play the games. Like he had Sega Genesis, he had all the systems, he had Super Nintendo, or I would go to other friends' house that would have it. But then one year we ended up getting lucky, and our uncle got us a Nintendo 64, which was our first ever console. But we ended up playing Mario Kart like for 2 years, and it seemed like forever that we were playing that game. But then eventually we finally got more games on it. But it seemed like, for some reason, that generation of consoles, like when it came to 64 and PlayStation, it just lasted really long. Now, yes, Intel needs to really be successful, because at this point, Intel is just looks like just straight garbage, especially with the 15th gen. I thought they were going to come out with something really big, because you look at you thought the Z890s were going to be like a whole different chipset. You thought that Intel was going to finally do something different, because Alder Lake was quite amazing, I thought, originally at first. how it was a hybrid processor, and how it was just quite the experience, especially that it had PCI Express 5. They were the first ones to have it. But then they just know how to fall off a cliff. They just really do. They're like experts at it. If you want to know how to fall off a cliff, go ask Intel. Or matter of fact, ask Pat Gelsinger. I don't know what's up with him these days, but Intel's got a new CEO, and apparently he knows what he's doing. So we'll see. We'll see if he really does know what he's doing, because he's got to pull him out the grave, because, man, Intel used to talk so much BS on AMD. Like, remember how they used to talk about them because they said that they would glue their dies onto their chipsets. But it turns out that Intel was doing that. So, yep, I had all consoles since the late 90s to 2010. Yeah, because those were the golden ages when it came to consoles. Consumer CPUs are probably nothing to it. It's really nothing to them. Like, you compare it, just like Nvidia, they don't really think anything of it. The first Mario Brother game console in 1990. M49. Graphics ports was AGP slot. That is correct. It was AGP slot originally. And PCI Express was something completely different. And that was like the breaking thing when PCI Express did come out. In fact, I remember that. Everyone wanted Intel before, I think. Everyone switched to AMD. That's the thing. Intel was the go-to, especially before, I think it was like, they started to fall on their face about I think it was the 8th generation. But no, yeah, it was the 8th generation, because the 9th generation, they ended up kind of repeating the 8th generation, and then the 10th generation was just asinine. The new CEO is a smart engineer. I think I do too, because originally the original CEO of Intel, he was more of the guy that when he was working, the way he would work is it was all about profits and about marketing, but it wasn't about the engineering when it came to their chipsets. So that was the big issue when it came with Intel. They just turned more into a monster instead of actually coming up with creative ideas, because Intel used to be at the top when it came to the PC industry. It's gotten so bad that Apple has dropped them because of that. And a lot of other companies have done the same with Intel, just ended up dropping them because they have underperformed their expectations. Now, Apple's more than likely never going to go back to them because they have their M series line, which is an excellent line for them. And then you have, of course, AMD, not AMD, but Snapdragon. You have Qualcomm's Snapdragon, which is going to be quite the beast. What do you think the lifespan with the 50 series now that they've implemented AI to help process frames? No matter what, no, even with AI, because originally everyone knows that AI was going to be like this, kind of like almost like a fad, like anything else. It's not going to last very long, but you can say with Nvidia. And remember, this is a market. It's about money. It's not about, they don't want it to last long anyway. They want you to buy another one as soon as possible. So I would expect, again, another 2 years before then. In fact, within the next year, they'll have a super series of the 50 series cards. It's just how they work. So once they have the 6000 series out, which would end up being not that long from now, 2027. And more than likely, I'll go along with AM6. Intel should be on a whole nother generation themselves as well. But I think that's what will happen. Do you remember that motherboards that took AGP and PCI Express at one time? Also, yeah, at one point they did have that. Processor at one time. Oh, you know what's... I do remember that. Processor at one time. Does anyone remember other CPUs? Because back then what was really comparable against those two was AMD's Athlon and what was it? Intel's... It's been so long ago, I can't remember. It was Intel's, what was it? It was the Duo. They had the Core Duos, and even before then, they had something before then. Because they had Pentium 4s, that's what it was. They had Pentium 4s, Pentium 3s. Those were the times. because when you had it, I remember the Pentium 3 was a monster, so was the 4. But yep, good old LAN parties and showing off your rig. I was thinking before to needing to upgrade to keep up with gaming, because in order to keep up with gaming nowadays, especially if you play a lot of AAA games, if you honestly play a lot of AAA studios, one of the things I gotta say, like especially if you PC game, is always take notes of what type of games you play. See what you played in January, see what you played in February, because then you really know what type of games that you're geared towards. Because you don't have to get a full-on 50 series if you don't have to. You can always go with another generation if you need to. Again, AMD's RX 9000 series line is a great line as well. I was thinking more before, and the Cyrix chip. Oh yeah, yeah. But it's funny because I'm sure all of you remember, going back onto the Nvidia side too, back then, they also had the M4 boards, because M4 boards were made by Nvidia. If you got those motherboards, you were ahead of its time, because they were built for LAN parties. And if you had one of those motherboards, you were badass. I hated my Pentium 2. It was a cartridge. I feel like Pentium 2 was not really that great of a generation. Everyone was looking forward to it because, again, it was the next generation of processors. And it almost seems like the whole gap was a whole lot different too back then. It wasn't as quick as it is now. Now it seems like it's like within a year they'll come out with a whole new die. Or within 2 years you'll have a completely different generation. Yeah, it was a weird time. That was like the most forgotten processor, I feel like, because all you remember is Pentium, and then it just skips right into Pentium 3. Because it's almost like they were just like, let's just scrap the design. We're gonna move on to the 3. And so, yeah, back then, you know what's funny? Yeah, the cyber cafes were the biggest thing. Like, everyone would go to one, especially to play games like Counter-Strike 1.3, 1.6. Those were great games at the time. Who all remembers Day of Defeat? That was another great game back in the day. That was also a Valve game. And also, you know what's crazy? It should be bigger. They should bring it back. I feel like it would do really well if they did bring it back, which is the... Let me see. Excuse me for a minute. If they did bring it back, because if you go to other countries, if you go to other areas such as in Taiwan or in Japan, you'll see that LAN parties are still existent. But for some reason in the US, it just kind of died out. I think it's more so that everyone has their own PC in their own place now. So that's why they probably don't feel like they need it in the US. But in places like in Taiwan and Japan, they're still really big. Arcades are still really big out there. But you don't really see them as often as you used to. Yeah. I remember the shovel, just beating people with the shovel. That was the best. And and the best part is you could dig a trench with it too. Remember that? And you could just dig a trench, go underneath, and kind of hide in it. It was an amazing game. Especially the fact that you could get that game. I think it was free if you had Counter-Strike and Half-Life with it, because it was like a package deal. And even CS started. Yeah, because remember how I can remember my first CS game vividly, which I played at CS Pool. Remember that CS Pool? And that was a mod. And that was the first board that I played, because it was such a small map. And it was the kind of map where you could pick up weapons and just kind of really go at it. You either knife them or you pick up like the AK. That was like my personal favorite in Counter-Strike. That was an amazing gun. And the best part is it was very realistic in a way to where you had to really be careful the way you shot. Otherwise you would spray. You would literally spray in the game. It's not like how it is, like in Call of Duty, where you can just pick up a gun and then if you shoot with it, you're going to be dead on. But realistically, Counter-Strike wasn't like that. You had to really aim and you had to click the mouse carefully. I agree with that, because I think Mark is onto something. I think they are certainly bringing arcades back to the US, because I've noticed it starting to grow a little bit in the mall, and hopefully they start growing more, because it's insane. Like in Taiwan and in Japan, they have these arcades where they actually have Halo, and they have Mario Kart. You wouldn't think Mario Kart would be an arcade game, but they have it. They have a lot of Mario games, in fact, in the arcades. They have Pokemon as an arcade game, very common. You could go into a mall, and it's really popular because I guess you can scan it onto your phone and it would save it into like an app, and it's pretty dope. And yes, Aztec. I loved Aztec. Inferno, Dust 1 to Dust 2, those are all classics. CS 1.497 was the first CS I played on dial-up. Oh wow, I can't imagine playing Counter-Strike 1.4 on dial-up. That is pretty crazy. So I think that's what I was playing at the because that's where I first played Counter-Strike, actually, was in a cafe, just as you mentioned. I was actually with a group of friends, and we went to this cafe, and they're like, "Oh, you got to try out this game. It's something different. It's amazing." So we got on it, and I was like, "Man, I gotta get this game because I have a PC at home. I just gotta download it into my PC now." But that's when everyone first discovered Steam. That's how Steam took over. Counter-Strike was just groundbreaking. I know. I'm talking to everybody who's coming in, especially from a younger generation, are probably like, that game's terrible because you can't crouch, you can't really you can't aim like in Modern Warfare or in Call of Duty. You can't do those type of items, or you don't have the specials or whatever that they. But I gotta say, I'm getting really tired of the Call of Duty series. I'm looking forward to Battlefield 6, because Battlefield 6 looks. Have you guys seen it? They brought back destruction. That's what we want. We want some destruction. We want to be able to shoot down a shed, like a little shed, and blow it up if somebody's hiding in there. We don't want to walk in there and get shot because he's been sitting in the shed for the whole game and camping. That was a big problem. And that's something that we've always grown up on, is that when you see a camper. Even in CS, remember you had campers too that would hide out into in that house in CS Italy? Remember that? Like if you walk down that when you go through that tunnel, there would always be somebody at that window of that house, always with a sniper. They need to bring back the Tenchu series and Dante's Inferno. I agree. Tenchu was amazing. You know what I really liked about Tenchu was the fact that you can grab the cloth and then you can just bring it up over you and you can hide. That was the amazing part. And they would walk right by you, and you could do that special where you could see that, especially when you played the doctor. That was really cool, where you could go behind them and you can stab them in the neck. Like you hit that point and it shows you the x-ray of it. That was something different. I miss Battlefield after they went down after Battlefield. I agree, because I think Battlefield 3 was where they had the destruction. And then Battlefield 4 just felt different. And then they really went down. You know where they really fell? It's Hardline. What were they thinking with Hardline? Because it was like cops and robbers practically, but a first-person shooter. It felt like Battlefield 4, but it was modded. It was so bad that I didn't even play it. I had the game, but I played it twice. And I was like, I can't play this anymore. But that was bad. Hardline is terrible. Yeah, but I can understand staying away from EA. Yeah, EA's launchers is just terrible. If you ever played, go on EA's launcher, that's why they give away so many games. People rave about it like, oh, it's not so bad. They give away a game every month. It's because they're trying to get you on there, and it's so slow. I feel like their UI is just bloat. It honestly is. But the funny thing is, EA's launchers, the other launcher that I had that isn't EA is Rockstar. That's the only other one, because when I installed GTA 5, I actually had the optical disc for GTA 5. That's how long ago I installed it. And you know what's funny? Speaking of Rockstar, what happened to me was when I have GTA 5, right? I have the game. I own the game. For some reason, earlier in the year, when I went to reinstall GTA 5, I was unable to install it. They said I didn't own the game. I was like, what the heck? So I went to go and contact Rockstar about it, and they said that they said I didn't own the game. So luckily, Best Buy keeps a record of everything that you purchase. So even I was able to go back all the way back then when it first released on PC and showed it to them, and then they unlocked the game for me. But tell me how they tried to lock me out of GTA 5 because I have it on optical disc. Isn't that some BS? But yes, absolutely. If I would switch over to Steam if I could with GTA 5 because it's just that terrible. But guys, I gotta use the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back. Excuse me. All right, guys, back already. Let me see here. Perfect. That's better. Had to get a reliever in there. But GTA 5, you haven't finished it. It's a great game. GTA 5 is an excellent game. I actually beat it twice. Hopefully, have you guys played the new GTA 5, the I think it's called Refinitive or Redefined version of it? But they kind of remastered the game in order for you to play it. Now, my new Ryzen build idles at 44C. Oh, that's an excellent temperature for sure. Ryzen temperatures are typically, I feel like they should be around that normal range. Now, I know some of them can run a little bit hot. So, yeah, GTA is certainly a great game. I'm looking forward to GTA 6 to see how it is. I just hope it's supposed to be groundbreaking. Apparently, if you get GTA 6, it's supposed to be that you can have, it has its own economy practically in there. So apparently the things that you could do in the game that you can actually use their currency in real life is from what they're saying. I don't know how that would work. Maybe there has to be some sort of limitation, I would imagine, to it. But can you imagine if you had like $1 million on GTA 6? Like, how much is it really worth if you to convert it into real life? Because that would be insane. It's supposed to be that groundbreaking, but I would imagine it applies to certain items or certain things. He's saying that because we saw your idle temperature, which was 35C. Oh, that's funny. Oh, you saw, yeah. So it was like that was like on the build that I had. So how long until they put it onto PC? Now, more than likely, when they put it onto PC, it's going to be around 2026 for sure. It's usually going to be the fall, as usual. And that's when I think they will release it. Because that's exactly how they did it with GTA 5. It's like they release it like a year after. But to be honest, Rockstar really just needs to release it at the same time because they can make a killing if they just do so. If there's a lot of people with PCs out there. In fact, we're one of the higher majorities, even though it doesn't seem like it, but we are a higher majority when it comes to the gaming industry. But yet they are stubborn enough not to produce it for us. Or maybe it's because it's a lot easier to design the game onto a console first. But again, it still doesn't make any sense to me. So, yes, interesting. So selling it exactly. I think that's part of their strategy too, to be honest. They probably really what they want to do is double dip on it. They want you to buy the game twice. They say, "Oh, most PC gamers, they know this. Most PC gamers own consoles, and most of them probably own PS5 because that's just how it is. You're gonna have a PC and a PS5 because it wouldn't make sense to have an Xbox and a PC because you have one every game anyway. So they're gonna say let's produce it on PS5 first, and then release it on Xbox probably like a month later, or maybe they'll do the same release depending on if Sony does successfully have that deal, that month exclusive deal where they pay out like I think it was like Rockstar wanted 26 or 27 million for 1 month exclusive, and then on top of it, we'll release it on PC the year later. That way we can get more sales on it, and we'll really sell the PC version as like it'll have one extra feature in there, but you can of course mod it as well. But it's just the fact that they know that they can get those sales. What is more interesting though, I gotta say, is do you think it's going to cost them? You think they really will charge $100 USD for GTA 6? Because then that would pretty much change everything. Because if that's the case, then there's going to be some game companies out there that are going to say our game is worth 100 USD. And yeah, exclusives should be banned because I do agree. Exclusives, it's at the point now where we shouldn't have any exclusives. Because honestly, you want to be able to game with everybody. Even if they're on console already, you want to be able to game with them. You want to be able to play with each other. Now, I don't think, to be honest, I don't know how the console market's going to look anymore, because especially that Xbox is choosing to release all their games onto PlayStation. In fact, that they're releasing Forza on PlayStation soon, and they're supposed to be releasing Gears of War soon onto PlayStation soon as well. But it's going to be very interesting to see how things turn out, because I know Xbox is more focused on a portable console, and it would make a lot of sense for them. Some say that they're more focused on cloud gaming. I don't think they'll go to that avenue. I know Xbox knows that it's not really a great market for it. So they'll definitely, I know they are looking at more of a portable console for sure. But On Defense Tech says, I have 1,123 games between Steam, GOG, Epic, EA, Ubi, Connect. That's a lot of launchers. Tarkov launcher, Bethesda, and Battle.net. You can't forget Battle.net because we all have to have a Battle.net account too. Square Enix is doing the opposite. They want to release on all platforms. Yeah, because Square Enix realized there's no money on being exclusives anymore. When it happened was with Final Fantasy 16. When Final Fantasy 16 was released, they realized that the sales could have been a lot better if they also released on Xbox. I think Xbox knows this as well. Microsoft knows this. So that way they're always going to try to release they're going to always try to release some games on PlayStation as well, as they're hoping as Sony releases their games more openly to Microsoft as well. Just like a great game that sold well is Helldivers. Helldivers was an excellent game. It wasn't expensive. It was only $39.99 when it first came out, and you were able to play that game. Again, that was like the first game that they did where they didn't release it just on PlayStation first. They actually released it the same time as PlayStation, and you can see how well Helldivers did. Now, I don't know if Helldivers is coming to Xbox, but it would make sense for them just to do it because they would definitely make some money. Now, I only collect free games on Epic. I can understand it, but I'm guilty of it because there's some throwback games that I personally enjoy on there that they will throw up there. And I love that Battle. I love BNet. They really could have been. Battle.net could have been great. I think that's actually, I actually have 3 launchers. I'm actually guilty of that because mentioning all those launchers just reminded me that Battle.net is also a great launcher. In fact, they compared, again, going back to the Call of Duty thing, they actually compared to how well it runs on Steam versus on Battle.net, and apparently on Battle.net, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 runs better on Battle.net than it does on Steam. But again, that comes to preference when it comes to launchers, and it also depends on if you really care that much about Call of Duty. I don't think anybody cares as much. This is actually the first game, the first Black Ops 6 that I actually did not prestige. That's how much I did not play the game. I tried to really get into it, but it just couldn't really draw me in. New to PC gaming, built my PC in December last year. Didn't have the funds at the time for a GPU. Now availability is down and prices have increased. When do you think it will stabilize? The summertime. To be honest, for everything to really stabilize will be this summer. Because scalpers will more than likely want to take their vacation and take advantage of the money that they ripped off from people. You're going to see more and more supply because eventually it'll get to the point where the demand won't be as high. There won't be people wanting to get a GPU as much. So to be very realistic, it's going to be summertime. To be direct, it's maybe more middle of summer, I would think. We could see more of a regular stock supply and regular pricing when it comes to GPUs. So, fam guys, I thank all of you for joining this stream. I will be doing this every Saturday where I talk to all you guys. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. This. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you're not part of the big wonderful fan band. Please join us. We love to talk to you, especially on this channel. As you can see, we all treat each other as family. So thank you guys again so much for joining. Make sure again to join the wonderful fan band. Just hit that subscribe button or follow if you're on another platform, and also make sure to join the giveaway if you haven't already. It's going to be on my latest video, which is the B850 ASUS motherboard. Not my latest video, actually. It's going to be the one before the latest now. But the ASUS B850 motherboard. Yeah, it's no problem, guys. I love talking to you guys, really. And please join the Discord. I would love to see you guys on there. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys take care and make sure to get your coffee. It's always... Thank you, Ezekiel, for joining. I was just thinking of you. That's why I had to bring up the coffee. I got to go get some, because I feel like I need some caffeine really bad. Thank you, Crispy. I appreciate it. I really appreciate everyone who joined. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.